Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Marvin's Room, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. I'm your host with the most, Marvin Francois, and today is a very special day because we have my guy, none other than Mike the Businessman. How you doing, my brother?
My man.
How's everything going?
Appreciate you for having me out here, brother.
Listen, appreciate you for coming through. And today is going to be an amazing day because we're going to be talking about how to start your own private car rental company,
sir.
Right? I'm super excited for us to get into it. But before we do that, make sure you guys take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now. Just go ahead and slap the like button and show this episode some love. But without further ado,
let's get it.
Let's get right into it. My guy, Mike the Businessman, man.
My man.
How are you, brother?
I'm excited to be here, bro.
I'm excited to have you, man. It's been a lot of chirping.
Yes, sir.
It's been a lot of noise.
Needs to be.
You know, I done had some people on here and they were like, yo, I got some other people I want to bring on. Is it cool with you if I bring them on? I said, listen, don't bring no chumps.
Right.
Don't bring no suckers.
Right.
I need some heavy hitters. And there was one name that kept revolving. There was one name that kept circulating.
Tell me what they said.
They said, listen, if you really want to turn this thing up.
Yes, sir.
They said, if you really want to take this to another level, you got to bring this man on here.
Yes, sir.
And it was your name, man. So I'm very happy I was able to come. And you're all the way from Texas, correct?
I came all the way from Dallas, Texas, bro.
Crazy.
Yes, sir.
Flew in today, flew in tonight.
And I got to go tonight. I got to be in Tulum in 48 hours.
See,
yes,
listen,
sir.
so we got to make this happen then. We got to light
it was
this
worth
thing
it,
up.
though. I'm like, yo, when you hit me up, I'm like, say less. I'm here.
And we here.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited, man. And I know you're going to bring a lot of game for the audience.
Facts. Get your pen and your pads out, yo.
Listen.
I'm dropping gems.
It's about to be one of those.
It's about to be one of those.
So without further ado, let's get into it, right? But now, before we get started, of course, take a second to introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, where you're from, what it is that you do, and how you got your start.
All right, so my name is Michael Onoha, a.k.a. Mike the Businessman. That's what everyone calls me. I've got a 6,000 square foot warehouse right by the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. I own a private car rental business. I rent out luxury and exotic vehicles. That's what I've been doing for almost 2 years now. I've been very successful at it.
Okay.
My background, so after college, actually, I went to Rutgers, New Jersey.
Oh, right here in New Jersey. Dope,
right
very, very dope.
Yeah, Rutgers, New Jersey, yeah.
Okay.
So I graduated computer information systems, man. Jersey was whack, bro. I tell people Jersey raised me, but Texas paid me.
I love it.
They couldn't give me a job out here, so I had to pack my bags. I went to Texas. I got a job in auto insurance. So I was selling property and casualty, non-standard auto insurance. Okay. So basically people with lots of tickets, suspended licenses, we getting them some insurance, getting them back on the road. All right. So I kind of got my feet wet in the insurance game at an early age. Years later, fast forward years later, you know how it is, bro. You always feel like the grass is greener on the other side. Right. So I went back to corporate America. I dusted off my degree, got a job as a vice president, tech and cyber operational risk management for JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America. So basically what that means is it's almost risk management. We're the ones that keep the bad guys out of the companies, all right? So, so I combined that experience of risk management, insurance. I had some buddies that were doing rentals and they were making a killing in it, right? So I figured, all right, bet. Let me get into it. I got to be honest with you, man. I couldn't tell you the difference between a V8 engine from a V10 or a V12.
Okay.
But I know how to make money off them things, and that's all that matters, right? So I just basically just took my experience and I ran with it. I went all in. So, yeah, we here.
And you're here now.
Yes, sir.
And what's the fleet sitting at right now in terms of?
In the warehouse at the moment, probably have about between 10, 12 cars right there.
Hold on, let me sit up.
Yeah.
What kind of cars are we talking about?
Yeah, so a few cars you might have heard of.
Okay.
A Lamborghini Huracan.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
that sounds familiar.
McLaren 570 GT.
Okay, that sounds even more familiar. Okay.
Yeah, a couple of other European ones. A Bentley Bentayga, like I mentioned. I got what else I got in there now? I got a BMW i8 Roadster in there.
Okay.
I got a Range Rover in there. I got a Rolls Royce Wraith in there.
You're going crazy.
About to get a Ghost in a week. Yeah, I can keep going, bro. Yeah, you need to say drink some more, bro. Yeah.
This is gonna be exciting. Okay,
yes,
so
sir.
now, and that's why I was excited to have you on because I know that my audience is very, very much so interested in the car rental space. But I was even more interested to bring you on because not just because you're in the car rental space, but because of the way that your business model is set up, right?
Yes, sir.
From the research that I've done, it seems that the car rental space is one of the more hottest spaces to get into, like right head to head with like Airbnb.
100%.
And a lot of the platforms that a lot of these people are using are like Turo, Get Around, Hire Car, and the list just goes on and on and on. But when I did my research into you, I was able to find out that you don't utilize any of these platforms.
No, sir.
You actually have a business model where you have a private car rental company.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir. 100%.
So now talk to me a little bit about that because I think that a lot of people heard that, their ears just perked up. They say, hold on, I thought you needed Turo to get started. Right. I thought you needed Get Around and Hire Car and all these other platforms. And you like, nah, I don't use none of that. And you know, I'm here doing what I have to do. For the audience member that's listening right now, could you explain the difference between, having a car rental business on a platform like a Turo or like a hire car versus what it is that you do,
Right.
which is a private car rental company?
Right. So I think the biggest differentiating factor here is data. Who owns the data? Right. So for me, I'm all about collecting data, being able to retarget and remarket my customers. Right.
Right.
So when I'm relying on a platform, I'm giving up the rights to that data. They own the data. Right?
Okay.
I can't reach out to those customers in the future. So for me, that was a big no-no for me. So I knew from day one, it was private rentals all the way.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I just leveraged those platforms for barely a month, 2 months. I don't know about you. If you've ever done, I hate to mention these company names, but if you've ever done one of those car sharing platforms, it's a lot of minimum wage activities.
Okay.
I barely did it 2 months and I quit. I'm like, I'm not doing this crap. And I went full in. I got a warehouse and I went all the way private. So that's just me. However, there's several models to the car rental business game, and I'll break it down for you guys, right? So there's a ride sharing model, okay?
Okay.
So that's where you buy cars specifically and you're targeting. So your niche here is people that are on ride sharing platforms like your DoorDash, your Uber Eats, right? So you're buying cars for them and then you're giving those cars to them to go rent it out. So that's one model, right?
Right.
The second model is a car sharing model, okay? That's more popular. So you have apps like Turo, Get Around, Hire Car. So you're getting cars and you're putting them on those platforms, the car sharing platforms. A third model, which is the one I embrace, is the private car rental model. So I'm going direct to customer. You have a location and you're able to charge more. There's a fourth model. It's more advanced. It's the floor plan dealer model.
Okay.
Where you got a dealer license and you're using your floor plan to get cars and then you rent them for 90 days. You either sell them or you just, you send them to auction, sell them off, get new cars. Okay. So those are the different models that are in the space. A lot of people are mostly familiar with the car sharing model, but yeah, there's better ones out there.
Got you. Now, to dive a little bit deeper into the car sharing model, one thing that I've heard from, because I know a couple other people who are in the private rental space, one big motivating factor for a lot of them, and I think this is probably maybe another motivating factor for you, was the fees that are associated with these car sharing platforms. Talk a little bit about that, because there are some people who probably aren't in the space yet, who maybe want to get into the space, right? And for you having the experience that you have, I'm sure that was one of the things where you're like, man, I'm paying you how much money to host my cars on there?
100%.
Right? So can you talk about the differentiating thing between that in terms of like, some of the benefits that come with having a private rental company versus like being on some of these car sharing, these ride sharing platforms?
Right. So facts. I'll give you a real life example. I was going to Atlanta a few months ago and I tried to rent a Rolls Royce out there, and the gentleman had his Rolls Royce. It was a Rolls Royce Ghost, and he had it on there for only $600 a day, right? So for 2 days, the bill came out to like $1,200, and that's the bread that was going to him. Then Turo tacked on an extra almost $1,000 trip fee, they called it.
Okay.
And they also tacked on like an insurance fee on there.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the bill was almost 2,500. But unfortunately for the owner of the car, he's giving up almost 200 miles a day. He's only going home with 1,200, but not even 1,200, because after that, Turo's taking, depending on what plan he's on, anywhere from 10% to 30% of that. So homeboy is going home with only $700.
That's crazy.
Turo's banking almost 15, 16, 1,700.
Right.
So for me, that's my problem with these platforms, right? So if you were doing private rentals, I rent my Ghost out for a minimum of anywhere from $1,100 to $1,400 a day.
Right.
That's what I rent mine out for.
Right.
So why would I give up that bread when I could just do it direct to customer?
Do it yourself.
So that's, for me, that was the switch that told me like, no, I feel like Turo is built for the renters and also for their investors. They're about to launch an IPO. So they're about to go public. Okay. So they have to please their shareholders, right? So they're not here for the hosts, unfortunately. And I think for me, that was the thing that I couldn't take about the platform. And so that's why I just do it privately.
Got you. And how long have you been doing in the private space?
I've been doing it almost 2 years now.
Got you. 2 years. And already had 11 cars, I think you said.
11 cars. See, I preach a different. I know a lot of people, you guys have watched a bunch of YouTube videos. There's gurus out there that tell you go get 30 cars in 30 days. I preach quality over quantity. Okay. You can still make more bread with just a few of the right cars. Like if you niche down and then you market to your avatar, you define your avatar. Who's your target audience? Like picture what they look like. Like if you're targeting traveling nurses, if you're targeting business professionals, you're targeting families, drill down to like the kind of cars they like, drill down to your marketing message, everything. No, like for me, my avatar, they like flashier cars.
Right.
So I go get cars like the BMW i8, the doors lift up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'll go throw on a purple wrap on that baby, and they love that.
Right.
You know, I'll go get like a McLaren with the butterfly doors, or I'll get a C8 that's got butterfly doors. They like that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, and then they'll happily pay me anywhere from $500 to $1,000 on a C8.
Right.
You can't get that on Turo.
Right.
I see C8s on Turo for $199.
Oh, that's crazy.
There you go.
That's insane.
So I think if you are able to just define your avatar, get the right cars that they want, it'll be a breeze. Private rentals all day.
Okay, so now let's break down the play. Let's run the play now.
Let's
break this thing down step by step. Now, in terms of getting started, right? Let's start out with structure. Structure is the most important thing in any business
100%.
you do. I don't care if you're renting out cars or you're selling hotcakes on the corner of
100%.
Flatbush Avenue, right?
100%.
You need structure.
Right.
When it comes to credit, right, in terms of securing these vehicles, does my credit need to look a certain way in order for me to get started in the private rental business? And if so, what does that structure need to look like as it pertains to that?
All right, so first things first, I'll preface with this. You don't need to have good credit. You don't need to have any credit. You don't need to have any cash.
Really?
You don't need to have any cars to get started in this business.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that a little later.
Okay.
However, to answer your question specifically, like if you were going to go get yourself a bunch of cars, yes, you do want to make sure that your credit's cleaned up, right? At least a 680 or better. That way you can get better interest rates on the cars. You can qualify for several banks. You can go to the credit unions. You can take advantage of like the Bank of America small business auto loan, where they give you very low interest rates, less than 5%. And they will approve you for up to 4 on one LLC. So there's several bank plays that we could run. Like there's banks out there like Lightstream that are giving out a bag. You can get up to 100,000 from them on a car. So I think, yes, first and foremost, right, get your credit right. Once your personal credit is right, that you meet the right data points, right? Make sure you don't have any of the late payments, chargebacks, repossessions on there. Get all that cleaned up. This is 2022, y'all. Everybody needs to have good credit in 2022, y'all. Like let's stop with all of that. Like now get your credit right, right? Okay. So once you've done that, next thing you need to start looking at is, because you don't want to get these cars in your personal. Once again, a lot of people watch some videos on YouTube and they got 30 cars on their personal credit. Now they can't even qualify for a cell phone, bro.
Right. Yeah,
true story.
DTI's messed up.
Yo, Marvin, true story, y'all. December, a guy came to my warehouse, almost at the point of tears. He told me he bought a bunch of cars, put them on a platform, and the platform dried up. Like December, January, February, most of these platforms are dried up. Right. And this guy he confessed to me that he'd been living off his credit card, paying his mortgage. He has a family with kids. Right. He's been living off his credit cards for months now, almost at the brink of bankruptcy. Crazy. Just because his DTI was through the roof and there's no way to get out from underneath it. Right. You know, so let's not make those mistakes, okay? Let's be smart. Once your personal credit is where you need it to be, now you want to get your business credit right. Okay. So make sure your business credit hits the right data points too. Make sure you've got a business address, business phone number, business email, all of that stuff, right? Once you get your business credit right, you want to be buying the cars in your business name. Okay. Now here's another thing, another bar you guys don't hear anywhere. Banks, car rentals is considered high risk. Okay. So your NICS code needs to be something different, like business consulting, something like that. So the way we structure it is you have a parent company, okay, that's maybe like a consulting company. And then your exotic business could be a DBA or a child company of the parent company. The parent company is what we're going to go use to get the bag from the banks. Okay, that's what we're going to use to apply for our loans, all of that, okay? So we keep that one squeaky clean. We make sure you get the DUNS number, you generate a paydex on that, get some trade lines on there, whatever you need to do that. Beef that guy up, because that's where you get all the money from. Okay, especially now we're about to go into a recession. Go get as much business credit as you can. You can never have enough. That's a fact. You can never have enough. We're going into a recession right now. I have a video where I just got over 200,000 in business credit in 2 weeks. So I encourage you guys to do that because the storm is coming. Oh, the storm is definitely coming. Yes, sir.
So now let's backtrack here and do a quick review of that. Yeah. So first off, like you were saying, you want to get the personal credit set up properly. Listen, if you've been watching my YouTube channel for long enough, you already know what your personal credit is supposed to look like. So we didn't have to break that down, right? But like you said, 680 or higher, right? You want to keep your inquiry account low, no late payments, right? Things of that nature. You want to make sure you have at least 3 to 5 positive accounts on your credit report with a nice age to make sure that your credit is properly structured. Then from there, like you said, we don't want to go out there and get the cars in our personal name. No. We want to get them in our business name, right? Because now if we get them in our personal name, to your point, where there's 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, this is something not a lot of people talk about. DTI is real, right? debt to income ratio, right? So when we talk about debt to income ratio, this has to do with how much you're borrowing compared to how much money you bring in. And now, to your point, if you have all these cars that are in your personal name, that you own, that you have loans on, right? This is not going to negatively affect your ability to go out and get credit from future lenders down the line, whether it's a phone bill, whether 100%. It's another credit card or whatever it may be, because banks are not going to feel comfortable giving you money. We got all this debt lingering out there that you need to pay back. Then you also talked about, business structure, right? 100%. One important key that you made was the NAICS code, right? So to do a quick dive into that, for those who don't know, the NAICS code is basically a code connected to a classifying system for businesses, right? Yeah. Depending on the type of business you have, every business has an NAICS code that the banks and lenders and other entities use to determine what field of business that you're in.
The level of risk.
Right, and the level of risk. So for example, I have a credit repair company, right? But my credit repair company is not structured as a credit repair company, it's structured as a business consulting agency, right? Because it's high risk. I just learned something new. I didn't know that car rental was high risk, but now that I think about it, think about everything that 100%. Comes with the business, you want it to. So that's another gem, right? Make sure that when you go in and you're getting and we would get an LLC for this business, correct?
Yes, 100%.
You want to make sure that the NAICS code is connected to something not low risk. The easiest one to get is business consulting. And then from there, we're building up our business credit, right? And then we're able to go out and get the car.
Yes, sir.
Son, I pulled you over today?
Because I was doing 90 and a 40 and hit 3 people along the way?
No, I don't care about that. What I do care about, though, is when checking our system, it seems like you got a 580 credit score, right? Now, normally, I'd give you a ticket for this, but instead I'm going to give you a link to a website called francoiscapital.com, right? They specialize in removing hard inquiries, charge-offs, collections, student loans, evictions, and so much more. So when you leave here, head over to francoiscapital.com and book your free credit consultation today, the Capital way.
All right, well, thank you, officer. What the hell is this? Are you even a cop?
Have a good day.
So now let's get a little bit more into the business model of it all, right? Okay. Because you deal with exotics and luxuries.
Yes, sir. High luxury and exotic cars.
Earlier on, you were talking about different spaces that, people could get into. You were mentioning how most people use rideshare platforms like a hire car, for example, where that's more geared towards people that use the cars for work, right? Uber Eats, DoorDash, things of that nature. And then you have other platforms like Turo, maybe for people that are tourists coming in and out the state, things like that. Could you talk about some of the different niches, right? We have exotics, we have economy cars, things like that. Talk about the different niches, the different spaces that exist in the car rental space. And if I'm the average person and I really want to get into the space, but I don't know what's for me, how do I know? Now, before you get into it, talk slow, be thorough, break it down for them real simple.
Oh, I got you. Go. All right, so, most people start off with the economies, right? So they want to get the economy cars. People feel like that's the foundation, that's the bedrock that brings steady income throughout the year. So they start off with the economy cars and they'll go throw it on, say, a hire car, right? So you're giving it out to maybe like an Uber driver that's going to keep it for months on end, right?
Right.
And that's a great plan. That's a great strategy. Now, I cater mostly to the higher luxury cars and the exotic cars. Reason why is that's where the bread is at, bro.
Okay.
Like the amount of money I make, perfect example. I've had an i8. How much is an i8? You could get an i8 for 60, 70 bands.
Okay.
I've had an i8 that's been gone since December. Dude is paying me $4,200 a week every week.
Crazy. That's insane.
You do the math.
Right.
It's almost 100 G's, right?
Right.
So you can't get that with the economy cars.
Okay.
I don't care how many economy cars you get, you're not going to get that much bread. So for me, I just feel like quality over quantity. You give me 5 good luxury cars, I'll make you some bread. I'll make you 6 figures off of them. So that's just my mentality. But yes, you could start off with the economies. Some people like to go get the Sprinter van. Some people do Sprinter vans. Some people do slingshot rentals. And then you have people that want to do like the higher end luxuries and the exotic cars. That's another niche out there also. So you could choose either one of those, most definitely.
And then, so we have the economy, we have the exotic / luxury. And I think Slingshot, I've heard that's classified under a specialty car, right?
Specialty, kind of like that.
Like very like specific vehicles that kind of people just use.
Right.
Now, Sprinter vans, what would that, is that have its own classification? Or
I would classify that as being luxury. Because
Interesting,
they are quite expensive.
Okay, got you. But people typically use that for like party rentals
buses,
and things like that.
Prom nights and all of that stuff.
Got you. Now, what about like, let's say like a G-Wagon? Is that also luxury?
That would be classified as luxury exotic, so to speak, because a G-Wagon right now costs 250 bands.
Got you.
So yeah,
got you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, got you. All right, so we have an idea of the different classifications. We've talked about structure and things that you want to make sure you have in place to get in the game. Now we need to go get the most important part of the game, the car.
Get your
right?
cars.
We got to get the car, right? Now, this is, I think, going to be the most important part of the video because I think this is something that before this video, if you were trying to get into the space, this was probably something that maybe you were extremely confused about or you just had a bunch of questions that need to be answered.
Right.
So hopefully you're able to answer those questions for them. Let's talk about securing this vehicle, right?
Okay.
If we want to get into the private car rental space, we're like, all right, Mike, the businessman, you got me. I'm hot now. I need to start this. I'm gonna start this business tonight, but I got to figure out where to get the car, right?
Gotcha.
Where do we go to get the car, right? What's that process look like?
All right, so I'll even take it back one step. Let's assume you don't even have a car.
Okay.
Or you don't even have good credit to get a car, right?
Right.
So you could actually leverage your relationship currency, your social currency. Do you know other people that have cars? Siblings, family members, friends, right? Once, just let everybody know that you are the rental car plug. Once people start to associate you with that, people will be begging you to rent out their cars. I know brokers in my city that don't own a single car to their name, but they're known as the plug for rental cars. Artists, celebrities, influencers, they come into town, they're calling them up like, yo, I need a car.
Right.
And it's his job to go get them whatever car they want, and he makes his bread on top. So you can start off that way. Like, start off being a broker. That's the easiest way into the niche.
Okay.
And then, while you're doing that, in parallel, you're working on your credit. You're working on your business credit, all of that stuff, right? Once you're ready to buy a car, your credit is ready, I would say the first step is to go apply directly to credit unions.
Okay. That's
Credit unions, credit unions like DCU, Penn Fed, Navy Federal, go start with them. Okay, there's several of them out there. Credit unions be giving out the bag.
They do. Yeah.
They give out very good interest rates, easy approvals. Start from there. Now, once you have that approval in hand, take that to your dealership. I guarantee your dealer is going to want to match that offer or better.
Well, now that's why I was about to ask. So you're saying don't go to the dealership, go to the bank instead.
First.
Why would you say bank instead of the dealership? Because a lot of people know to go to the dealership first.
Right, because the problem is once you go to the dealership, they run up your credit.
Right.
They try to hit you upside the head with a huge down payment.
Okay.
I don't put money down on my cars. Except sometimes some exotics, you can't get away with it.
Okay.
Some, like if you're buying an exotic worth $300,000, chances are the bank is only going to give you 80-90% of the value of the car.
Okay.
You know, now you might have to put something up. But if I'm buying a $100,000 car, I'm not putting a dime down. If I'm buying my Bentayga I just bought, I didn't put a dime down.
Got you.
So go get your approval first. Bank of America Small Business Auto Loan. If you have an LLC you just created yesterday, you could actually go online, apply, put in your personal income and your business income. And don't forget, when they say business income, that's how much you're projected to make for the year.
Right.
So that's the number you put in there. You put that number in there, Bank of America will approve you within an hour or two. Take that approval to your dealership. They will match that, or you can still use that to buy a car.
Right.
So I would think that's the best way to get started. Some people have auction access. If you've got auction access, and go to the auction, go get you a car there too.
Got you.
Now, one bar I'm gonna give you guys about buying cars too, right? Especially if you're looking to get into the car rental business, is understand the concept of a base cash value for a car. Okay?
What is that?
Let me explain that. All right. So let's take a look. That's a perfect example, right? A BMW i8. I've never seen a BMW, especially right now, I haven't seen a BMW i8 that's less than $60,000.
Okay.
So I kind of know that that's the base cash value. That's as far as it drops on the depreciation curve. Okay. Every car has a depreciation curve.
Right.
So in the rental car game, we kind of want to meet it as close to the bottom as possible.
Okay.
That way we're not losing too much money. Okay. So if I know that the BMW i8 is never going to drop less than 60,000, if I see one at 65, 68, 70,000, that's a good deal. I have that window, that space to play around with and get rid of the car, and I don't lose as much. So just be mindful of that. Like when you go buy a 2022 Mercedes-Benz or BMW, they depreciate a lot.
Right.
So within a year, that car's crashing. You don't want that. You're going to eat that cost, that depreciation cost. So try to buy it as low as possible on that depreciation curve. I like to buy cars also that are the oldest in the latest model change. So say they changed the design last year, or maybe we're in 2022. If they change the design of the car in 2019, I'm going to go get the 2019 version of it. I'm not going to go get the latest version because then I'm going to eat that depreciation. You don't want that. So at least that way it looks like your fleet looks like it's the hottest one, the latest model.
Right.
But then you're not eating that depreciation cost.
Gotcha.
Okay. I'm about to buy a Rolls-Royce Ghost or a Wraith. I know that the Wraith still looks the same from 2014 to 2021. Why would I go waste money buying a 2021 when I could get a 2014 that looks exactly the same?
That's a bar.
And would rent for the exact same amount of money.
That's true.
So that's the way you got to look at the business, okay? Same thing with the Ghost. Go get the oldest model that looks the same as the current one with any car you're buying.
Right.
That's how you stay relevant. That's how you make the most bread in the business.
I love
when
that.
You're buying your cars.
That's what
so few bars right there.
I love that. And it's called the base cash. What was it called again?
Base cash value of the car.
Base cash
Yes,
value
sir.
of the car.
Yes,
Got you. So wow, that's I didn't even think about that. That's huge.
A lot of people don't. So that's why they end up in a hole.
100%. So once again, you're basically saying like, hey man, don't even waste time, because we've heard the horror stories that come with going to these dealerships,
100%.
right? In terms of you
Inquiries
go in there with one inquiry, you leave with like 72,
100%.
and now you're getting ready to slap box the owner of the place because he didn't told you he was only going to run it one time, and they shotgun your credit to all the banks. You're saying cut the middleman out, go straight to the banks, because that's what they're doing anyways.
Right.
Go there, you find out what you can get approved for as it pertains to auto financing. You come back with the check.
There you go.
And then you're like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch I want that one. And then you
100%.
run out of there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now another thing.
There are times though when you want the dealership to run your credit.
Talk to me about that.
All right. So if you're in the exotic space or you're looking to buy a BMW,
okay,
I would buy a BMW. I'd rather be financed with BMW finance than have a credit union take that loan.
Why?
Because you want to see BMW finance on your credit report. It looks good. Guess what? Rolls Royces, most of the parts are BMW parts.
Okay.
If you have a good loan with BMW and you've been paying off on it, years later or months later, if you want to go get a Rolls Royce,
they see that on their credit report.
They see that on there.
They're like, oh, okay.
There you go.
Got you.
I had an approval with Bank of America to get my Bentley.
Right.
But when I went to the dealership, they got Bentley Financial.
Got you.
That looks pretty on a credit report.
It looks fantastic.
It looks a whole lot better than Navy Federal.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
So I'll take that over. Now, if they're going to run you through some other...
Right.
No, I don't need that.
Right.
So there you go.
That's another bar. Goodness gracious. I love that. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
now talk to me about this then, right? Because that's huge.
Yeah.
Another aspect of getting the car is how you go about getting the vehicle, right? We know one of the two main ways that you can go about securing a vehicle is you can either finance it or lease it.
Right.
Now that we're trying to start our own private rental company, we have a lot more flexibility as it pertains to that. But from your personal experience, does it make a difference if we lease or finance the vehicle? And if so, what's the better route for us to go?
100% financing the vehicle.
Okay.
Because number one, with the leases, they limit the number of miles. Most likely, you're going to go over on the miles with your lease, and so you can't win in that situation. Now, there is a website out there called swapalease.com.
Say that again, but say it slow.
Swapalease.com.
Got you.
So you go to swapalease.com, people that are already in existing leases and want to get out from them, they put their cars on that platform.
Got you.
So you're able to actually go on there. If your credit is not as strong, that's a good plug for you. So actually go to swapalease.com and go find a car that maybe has 6 months left on the lease.
Okay.
And if the payments are manageable, they're giving you enough miles, you could actually get that car. And after you pay it off for the 6 months, guess what? It's going to show on your credit report like you've paid off that car.
Got you.
So that's an easy workaround with the leases.
Got you.
So yeah, I wouldn't go lease a brand new 2022 car. No, it's a recipe for disaster.
There you go. Okay. Got you. Okay. So now, right, we talked about structure. We talked about the different niches within the business that you could tap into, what your personal credit needs to look like, what your business needs to look like, where you can get the car, different tips, tricks, and gems on how to secure the car in your best interest, right? Now we got the car. Congratulations, right? But we're not there yet. We're not just going to throw the car on the road and think money's going to start rolling in. There's a process to this, right? Another part of this process that I know of and I know you're extremely familiar with is protecting this asset of ours.
Risk mitigation,
right? Because like you just said, and I just learned, which I kind of should have knew already, this is a high risk industry. And the reason for that is because of accidents. We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But we got to make sure this asset that we just secured is protected, right? Because we needed to cash flow and create, money for ourselves, for our family, for our business.
100%.
So if I'm getting into the private rental business, what are some of those tools that we need to have in place to ensure that this asset that we just secured is protected when we put it on the road?
All right. So first and foremost, once you get the car, first thing you need to do is go get some kill switches or GPS trackers in your car. Okay?
What's a kill switch?
A kill switch is basically it's a device you put in the car and you can remotely switch off the car. So if your car gets stolen by somebody, you could actually switch it off and they can't start it again until you manually or you turn it on yourself. Okay. So make sure you have a kill switch. There are several companies that sell them. I like to use either Viper, I use Advantage GPS, or I'll use Gold Star by Sperian.
There you go. I heard that.
Those are three companies out there that offer. And
say those again, but say it slow.
Viper GPS, Viper VIPER GPS. There's Gold Star by Sperian, and there's also Advantage.
Gotcha.
So those are three companies you guys could tap into. Go get kill switches. I like to have in my market. Texas is not as hot as say like in Atlanta.
Okay.
So in Texas, I could get away with just 2 trackers in there. Okay. So one I'll keep active. That means it's turned on. And one I keep passive. So it's off. So
there's 2 in the same track.
2 in the same car.
Okay. That's a bar.
So the thief doesn't know. So when they do their scan, they see one that's active. They take that out.
But they don't even know.
They don't know about the other one that's passive. So once I get the report, the ping that one's been switched off, I can't ping it anymore. I switch on the other one and I kill switch them.
Gotcha.
Right. So in Texas, I could get away with having 2. If you're in somewhere hot like Atlanta,
you want to get about 4, 5, 6, 7 of them banks.
Yeah, you want to triple up on that mug at least. So yeah, definitely. So no, but that's the first thing you need to do. Then you need to make sure that you have a good insurance policy on your cars.
Talk about that.
So you got to get insurance on your cars. There's several options, right? If you have a car that's less than 50,000, that's easy. There are companies out there like Lula Insurance, Lula.
Okay.
Lula will sell you fleet insurance. So they're okay with giving it out to people that are running their cars on Turo or private rentals.
Gotcha.
So, and it's pretty cheap too. So they charge you based on when the trip starts.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not for when you're going out on a date with your wifey. They're not going to cover those trips.
Right.
Only when the car's on a rental.
Gotcha.
It kicks in. Okay. So, however, it gets tricky when the cost of the car is over 50,000.
Why is
There's
that?
not a lot of companies that want to take on that risk. A few years ago, a lot of cats out of Miami and Vegas started committing a lot of insurance fraud.
Right.
They'll get into the exotic car rental business. It doesn't work out after a year or 2. They burn down the warehouse and claim the insurance money. Okay. So that kind of messed the business up for a lot of people. So we have to improvise. Okay. There are companies out there. If the car is less than 100,000, there are companies out there that you can sell supplemental insurance to the customer. Okay. So there's companies like insuremycar.com.
Say it again, but say it slow.
Insure, INSURE, mycar, MYCAR.com. That's one. There's another one called Sure, like SURE, sureapp.com. That's another insurance policy. There's Allianz. Everyone's familiar with Allianz. So it's ALLIANZ.com. You could sell those policies to customers. I am a little wary about those. I like to use those. I consider those secondary insurance companies. Obviously, their claims process isn't as mature as, say, your Allstate, State Farm, Progressive, Geico.
Right.
So I use that as, so to speak, plan B. Okay. Now, the main way to do this is whoever's renting a car from you needs to make sure they have insurance.
Okay.
Okay. So the renter needs to have full coverage insurance.
And that's a must.
That's a must. Like,
Got you.
Don't get too thirsty don't get too excited to collect that bread and you don't make sure they have insurance. So you have to verify their insurance policy, make sure the property damage limits match the value of the car.
Okay.
So if you're giving them a car that's worth 50,000, on an insurance policy, there's something called a property damage limit. That's what the insurance company is going to pay for the vehicle if it was in a wreck or stolen.
Gotcha.
Okay. So say you're driving a $50,000 car and you have property damage limits at $25,000 on your policy. If you wreck that car, if you total it, your policy is only going to pay out $25,000.
That sounds very similar to like gap insurance, isn't that how?
Well, gap is more like when it's a total loss.
Okay.
And then they pay if you're under on your loan.
Okay.
Gap insurance helps you pay off what you owe still on your note.
Gotcha.
Right. But this is different. This is if you total the car, but then your insurance policy limits are too low, they're not going to pay the value of the car.
Right.
Okay. So if you come to me to rent $100,000 car, you need to raise your property damage limits on your insurance policy up to $100,000 minimum. That way, if the car is totaled or stolen, they'll pay for it.
Right.
So that's one thing you have to make sure you verify on the phone with the insurance policy, the insurance companies. You want to make sure it's an active policy. You want to make sure that the renter is listed on there as a driver. Trust me. People come and they scam. It could be a son that's got the same exact name as his dad.
I literally saw you. Hold on. I saw you make a post on your Instagram story just the other day where I think a guy came with like one name, with like a fake ID or something
Two
like that.
different fake IDs.
Two different fake
Yeah.
IDs. That's crazy.
He hit us twice. He hit us
Right.
by phone
Right.
and also hit us by Instagram.
Right.
Hoping to get 2 different reps, different IDs.
Right.
So people scam all the time. I get it all the time. A kid, he's got the same exact name as his father, maybe Joe Smith.
Right.
He's a junior, dad's a senior. Guess what? When you call the insurance company, like, hey, I have a Joe Smith here and this is the policy number, they're like, yes, Joe Smith, we have, yeah.
Right.
But it's not the same Joe Smith.
Right.
So you got to be mindful of things like that, okay? So there's a lot of scammers out there. So you need to make sure you have the right risk mitigation controls in place. I'll explain what that means. A control is anything you put in place to mitigate, avoid, or transfer risk. For instance, a door. A door is a control. It's to keep people out from your house. Okay. Same thing with your car rental business. You need to have controls in place so people can't come in. Because trust me, every day people are going to come in to steal these cars from you.
Especially if you got the exotic.
Especially when you got they come every single day.
Right.
So you got to have the right processes and procedures in place to make sure it doesn't happen. Like
So
my team, they got to verify insurance. They got to run background checks on people. We got to do a lot of stuff just to make sure those cars come back safely.
Right.
You got to have those policies and procedures in place.
What is that? You touched on a couple of them. What is that? Is there a specific, because background checks is the most important thing, right?
100%.
So what are those? Are there websites that you do, or specific software? What does that process look like?
There's software, there's websites that we go to, we utilize just to make sure they're paid. You have to pay for them.
Is there anyone in particular that you would recommend?
Like perfect example, you could use whitepages.com.
Okay.
So you could use whitepages.com. And we're not looking, now, let me preface with this though. Like, don't go out there and because you ran their background check and you saw that maybe he stole some candy 20 years ago, you're like, oh no, I don't. Nah, I'm not tripping off of that. I'm looking for certain red flags. Like if this guy, I had this one guy last month, he tried to rent a Lambo from me.
Right.
And we ran on paper, like, bro, you would just say, here, take the key, take all the cars, right?
Everything looked good.
Perfect on paper, right? We ran the background check. Homeboy had robbed 300 ATMs in Oklahoma. He just got done doing a 15-year bid. Okay? So guys, Google is your friend. Also, you Google the names of these people. You would be surprised what comes up. You'd be surprised what comes up. So, just Google their names sometimes too. Just do your checks and balances just to make sure before you hand over those keys, bro.
brother. If I did that check after I gave that brother the vehicle, I'd be hot.
There you go.
I'd be scared, crying, shook, scared to death, scared to look.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Marvin, I tell you this though, like my policies and procedures are all in place. They're so solid that when I hand over the keys, I sleep at night. I'm not checking my GPS.
Right.
I have no alerts set on my GPSs. I don't want to know. Like I'm cool. I've already done everything. My team's done everything. I know that car's coming back.
Right. So now and I'm happy there's amazing segue, because now let's get a little bit into that, because now you being 2 years in the game, having the fleet that you've had, you've dealt with the lumps and the bumps and the bruises that comes with getting into this industry. You're more well versed now, right? You've seen a good amount. So talk to me a little bit about that, because compared to what is your day-to-day, what is the day-to-day of the business now look like for where you are at now compared to when you first started? Because, we don't want to just sell everybody, fake dreams and giggles and 100%. Make you think that everything is all sweet. You probably went through a lot earlier on that made you, the car rental, the private rental expert that you are now.
Yes, sir.
What did those earlier days look like in terms of what your day-to-day was like, the processes, everything else? And what have you learned from then that you've now implemented now to where your business is bulletproof? Ain't nobody coming in there and messing nothing up.
Yes, sir. So I think for me, starting off, it was just me doing the car sharing apps. It's constantly doing drops. You're washing the car. So a lot of minimum wage work, right? There weren't any policies and procedures in place. None of that. I was just learning as I went. As I matured, then I started to put those things in place, right? So now I have a check-in process. I have a checkout process. I have a vehicle inspection process. We have back-end processes where we're running our checks on these clients, right? So, and everything is documented and stored. We use tools like Asana. Well, Asana, if you don't know, is like a project management tool, right? Where you could actually document like policies and procedures, put all of that in there. I share that with my team. So as I've grown and matured, our processes have also matured. I make sure I have staff now. So I'm not hands-on operational anymore. I'm not doing any of that stuff. Instead, I'm more strategic. I'm behind the scenes. I have meetings with the staff. I have meetings with my marketing team. So I'm thinking my role now is more so how do we grow this thing more?
Right.
Okay. How do we scale versus instead, the next car's going out. I got to go clean that. So it takes time. If anyone tells you the car rental business is passive, that's a lie. It's not true. I hate to break that to you. Starting off, it's not going to be passive.
Right.
As you mature, though,
it'll get there.
It gets there.
Right.
Like any other stream of income.
Facts.
Nothing is ever 100% passive.
Facts.
Especially if you're trying to make over 6 figures. When you get to that, you're going to have to sweat there's some sweat equity involved 100%. Initially.
Right.
And then you get to a point where, yes, now the money is rolling in. Now I could hire a few warehouse staff. Now I could hire a marketer, bringing in business, putting out the word out there. And then that's how you start to scale your business.
There you go.
And then you stop working in it, you can start working on it.
Boom, bar. And I'm extremely happy that you said that because, you know, especially, I mean, we're both on social media, so we see a lot of people selling false hope, you know, not just even in the car rental business, but just in every business. And that, oh, yeah, 6 figures and you ain't gonna have to do nothing. And
100%
it's like
passive.
Family, like cap. I don't care what you're doing. Once again, I don't care if you sell soap or you do car rental. Like there's a process that you have to go through.
Yes, sir.
And you should embrace that process because I'm sure from you personally, there's some lumps, some bumps, some bruises that you took in your first year of going through this car rental business that you're probably extremely thankful for now because you're so you've gone through those experiences and it's made you so well versed and so thick skinned. So it's like, man, like you said, you sleep easy at night because I went through all of that already, right? So you want to embrace that in any form of business, right? Not just within the private rental space, but with anything. Don't come in trying to be super hands off and thinking everything is going to be peaches. It's not, right? And if it is, something's wrong. Something,
you're not doing it right. You're not doing it big enough.
You're not doing it right or you're not doing it big enough. And that's a fact, right? But you made mention of something. You talked about your team and you talked about some of the different people that you have in place. One person you talked about, you know, you have someone that works in marketing, right? Yeah. And that's something I think I really want to make sure I get into in this sit down because I think one big reason a lot of people look to the ride sharing platforms like Turo, like Hire Cars, because in a way they handle the marketing aspect of the car for them.
Yes, sir.
My job as the renter is just to take these super duper nice pictures. I put it on your platform because there are millions of people searching for cars every day. I don't even got to worry about doing all this extra legwork to get this car out because it's Turo. It's like it's an established brand. People are going to come. You as a private car rental business owner, you don't necessarily have what some people would consider a luxury in that, right? So you got to do your own marketing. 100%. You got to do your own advertising. Talk to me about what that looks like. How can we, if I'm in this car rental space, I'm taking notes as you talking, Mike, the businessman. I promise you. I'm taking notes as you talking.
Hope you guys are too.
Yeah, I'm taking notes as you talking, right? I'm like, okay, business structure, check. Insurance, check. You know, systems and process, everything. Check. Okay, I got this private car rental company. I got this asset. I got to get the word out. I got to let people know I got this thing going on, right? So I can start getting that cash flow. Right. If I'm just getting started, what did you do then, and what are you still doing now as it pertains to marketing your business to make sure that you're getting consistent leads for your private car rental company?
All right, so I'll give you guys a few bars, right? So if you're starting out with the car sharing platforms, right? So I call it the training wheels phase, okay? So you go into hybrid mode. So I want you to be running the car sharing platform and at the same time you're running private rentals. Okay. But the idea here is you're leveraging the car sharing platforms to build up the private rental side. So you're giving 5-star service to your customers, making sure you're getting testimonials. You're trying your best to flip them over. Okay. So a lot of times people, when they hit that trip fee, they're like, whoa, I didn't know Turo was going to charge an extra $500. If you describe you have the right words in your listing, they'll hit you up and they'll call you like, hey, can you beat this price? Of course I can. Right. And then that's how you can move them over to the private side. Right. Okay. So that's that's a training wheel phase. Okay. You're leveraging those platforms, but you're flipping them over to you. Now you have data. Now you're getting them into your net. Right. There's other organic methods that we could use too. Right. Facebook Marketplace is another very good one. Gotcha. Okay. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. Put your cars on there, people will blow you up, bro. Okay. Put your cars on there, people will blow you up. I always stress though, like, know thy avatar. If you don't know your avatar, you can't market to everybody. Otherwise, you market to nobody. Right? So for me, I'm gonna keep it 100% real with you guys. My avatar are your dope boys, gangsters, like people that your Hertz, Avis, Turo won't even approve. Right. Okay, but guess what? They come to me and they take perfect care of my cars. Right. And they pay me good bread for them. Right. That's my avatar. So I speak to them. I go to where they hang out and that's where I market. Okay. So I say this to say, if maybe your niche is traveling nurses, go find Facebook groups, cater to them. Go drop your cars in there. Right. If say you have cars that people would want for weddings, go to wedding groups, wedding planner groups on Facebook. Right. Go advertise your cars there. Your phone will start to blow up. Okay. There's other organic methods, right? Like leverage social currency. I keep saying that you need to be a walking billboard for yourself. Facts. You need to brand yourself, have your business cards, let everybody know you're the rental plug. Okay. People will start to, it's a snowball effect with private rentals. Right. And that's the beauty of it, bro. Like when you're relying on an algorithm on these car sharing platforms, what happens when it dries up? Facts. You have no book of business. You have no data. Who do you retarget? How do you, nothing. You're just sitting there waiting. Right. Versus with private rentals, all I got to do is send out a blast email or blast SMS, slashing some prices. Oh, yo, we got a weekend special, 15% off. Right. They start calling back again. Right. You know, So that's the beauty of it. So leverage that. I can give you another one. If you have busy shopping plazas around you, go park your car right there, right on the street. Put a bandit sign on the windshield. Car for rent.
Okay.
Put a QR code. If you're always outside, I'm a homebody. I'm not outside as much. Certain people are, and I envy that. If you're always outside, if you're in the clubs every weekend, when you go in there, you're popping bottles. They need to be having your company name, MTB Exotics, when they're popping your bottle. Let everybody in there know that's what you do.
Right.
Get to know the club promoters. That's organic marketing. There's also paid marketing. You could run Facebook ads, Google ads. You could do those things too for your car rental business.
Right.
I'm in the process of securing several billboards right now around the city in Dallas. So there's several plays you could also run. Get your phone ringing, and you don't have to worry about chasing customers down or relying on the algorithm.
The QR code play was huge because I mean there are cars sprinkled all throughout Brooklyn and just New York in general, but they're like people that are bought them from auctions that are looking to resell them, and they put like the little marker in the window and they're like, yo, for sale, $2,000.
There you go.
But now you over here talking about parking your car in some of the, like I've even heard that play, but like, having your car, you're parked in like by hotel, like where hotels are at.
Hotels, strip clubs, funeral homes.
100%. But once again, it all comes back to knowing your avatar.
100%.
Right? Like you said, if you're in marketing to everybody, you're really marketing to nobody. You should know exactly. And by the way, when we talk about avatar, we're talking about knowing the average age of the customer, right? The gender of your average
ethnicity. I drilled down to ethnicity,
right? It can go as far as to the kind of jobs that they're working, right? Where they're from, what do they like to do, like. This is the market research you want to do if you want to be successful. By the way, not just in private rental business, but just in business in general, because you got to know who you're selling to. Otherwise, you're not going to be selling it the right way.
And speaking, let me piggyback off of that thought too, right? See, the biggest mistake I see people make is they go, when they're trying to get into the business, the first question that comes to head is like, what car should I buy, right?
Right.
And then unfortunately, what they do is they skip the whole avatar process. They go to a Facebook group, a Turo Facebook group, and then they ask people, what car should I get to get started?
Right.
And then they're going off of other people's opinions.
Right.
Or you go to the Turo website and then you're looking for the top performing car. That car might be hot today. What if it's not tomorrow?
Right.
So you don't want to do that. That's why you need to define your avatar 100%.
Facts.
That way you're getting the kinds of cars they want to drive. And then that way your car is always going to stay rented out. So I think that's key. And don't skip that step before you go buy cars.
That's a major key. Major key.
Quick question. Would you be interested in learning how to start a 6-figure credit repair company? Yes? Okay, what about a 6-figure funding business? Yes again? Okay, what about a 6-figure trade line business as well? 3 S's, cool, that's all I need. Now listen, I can't say too much now because I do need to get you back to this interview, but I'm getting ready to launch a mentorship program, and quite honestly, I think you'd be a perfect fit, right? So when you're done with this video, click the link in the description. It's gonna bring you to the landing page. It's gonna give you all the information you need about this program, when it starts, what it's about, everything you're gonna learn, and if you would be a good fit for it. We'll talk more on that page, but for now, let's get you back to the video.
So now, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd be remiss. We've first off, you dropped a lot of gems here today. You've given a lot of value here today. But there's one missing piece that if I didn't touch on it, my audience would probably slap me in the back of my head. I'm keeping it real with you. So we got to get into it because when it comes to business, we can't talk about the good without talking about the bad.
Let's do it.
You already know where I'm going with this. When you come into this car rental game, man, let's talk accidents. Let's talk car accidents, because this is something that I'm pretty sure, again, if you're looking to get into space, this is probably one of the biggest things that you're trying to figure out.
Gotcha.
And I'm not in the space, but I have people like yourself and other people that I know who are colleagues of mine that are in the space and everybody has said the same thing when it comes to accidents and these rentals.
Right.
When it comes to accidents, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's gonna happen.
Right.
Like, there are no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, it's going to happen. So now if we know that it's going to happen, we need to do our best, right, as people who are looking to get into space, to prepare for when those times come. So talk to me a little bit about that. What does the process look like? You just got a call from your assistant. You just got a call from your manager. Hey, listen, Mike, we got a problem. The Rolls Royce got caught up in this, fender bender that, this whatever it may be.
Right.
What does that process look like when we have a car in our private rental company that gets into an accident, from when we get that call to how we handle it moving forward?
Right. So first things first is, once you get that call, you just let the renter know to let them basically, I ain't gonna lie. When I get that call, I hand it over. I have a plug. Like, I don't deal with that stuff.
Okay.
I'm not going to be calling insurance companies because the process takes almost 4 or 5 months.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm not dealing with that. For me, I got a plug. He's out in Miami. Shout out to my boy Lex. And I just forward the information over to him. He takes care of everything.
Gotcha.
See, even when I get those calls, I'm not shook because I know we've already kept to our policies and procedures. I know I'm going to get paid. Matter of fact, I'm going to make money off of that accident.
Okay.
So
talk a little bit about that.
So there's several ways to make money in this game off of that, right? So whenever you rent your car out, number one, make sure you're taking a security deposit.
Okay.
That's number one. That's to cover any damage they do to your vehicle. Okay. It's a refundable security deposit. So if they bring the car back, there's no damage, they get the security deposit back. If they damage the car, you keep it.
Right.
So if it's minor damage, they scuff my rims, I keep the deposit.
The entire thing?
I keep the entire thing. Woo. You know why? Because guess what? If it's a Lambo rents out for $1,400 a day, the turnaround time to fix that rim could be 2-3 days.
Yeah, that's money out of your business.
That's lost income for me.
Right.
So I'm keeping it. And guess what? My clientele, my avatar, they're okay with that.
Right.
Because I let them know beforehand. We even have them sign off on that.
Right.
Okay. So they're okay with that. If they damage the car, if you've already verified their insurance, what's the problem here?
Right.
That's fine. The car's gonna get paid. So that's fine. So a matter of fact, we know how to make money on that. So one thing I'd advise you guys to do is if you have to handle this for yourself, right? So car comes back, it's been in an accident. Send it to, say it's a Toyota. Go send it to a Toyota dealership for an estimate.
Regardless of what it is.
Yeah, regardless of what it is. If it's an accident, send it to the dealer, the authorized dealer.
Okay,
to
gotcha.
go get an estimate first.
Okay.
Because you need that. Normally, their prices are way higher than
That's true.
Joe
Yeah.
Blow next door. So you want to get that invoice first. Now, after then you get that invoice, you submit that to the insurance company, and then let them do their thing. While they're doing their thing, you need to get your car back on the road. So for me, I'm all about quick turnaround. I fix my cars up. Like my neighbor next door does body repair. So literally, my car's fixed within a week. It's back on the road. I got to keep making bread on that car. So I'll go send it to him, and he'll fix it for way lower
Right.
than what the dealership is asking for. Okay, but then I now get paid by the insurance companies based on that estimate I sent initially.
Gotcha.
So that's how you make money. We make money on that spread. If depending on what state you're in, you could get lost income, so you could claim that too. You can get depreciation because the value of your car is dropped. So you're entitled to that money. In Texas, we can claim depreciation. So I also get that bread too. So there's 3 possible checks that you could get off of any accident.
Right.
So the issue is, once again, risk mitigation. Make sure you dot your I's, cross your T's, verify insurance properly, and everything should be cool. You have nothing to worry about when you have accidents.
Easy money.
Easy money.
Easy money.
Yes, sir.
Listen. Mike the businessman. Man, I appreciate you, man.
Hey, appreciate you for having me, man.
That was one of them ones. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
definitely one of
Most
them
definitely.
ones. So
Most
now,
definitely.
as we prepare to close this thing out, somebody just sat here, pen in one hand, paper in the other. Now they hot. They ready to get
ready
this
to
thing
go?
rocking and rolling. But they want to tap in with you, and also they want to tap in with, some of the things that you have to offer.
Gotcha.
I know we talked about this off camera. Talk a little bit about, some of the products that you have going on right now, some of the offers that you have right now for somebody that's not just looking to get into the car rental space, but really take it to the next level. But maybe they want somebody that they could tap into like yourself, somebody that they can mentor them, really give them the step-by-step blueprint that they need to not just come into success this area and do well, but to strive and perform at the highest level. Talk about that.
All right. So first things first, right? So I'm going to speak to the people that maybe you want to get started in this business, but you don't have zero credit, no cars, no money. I got a free ebook for you guys. Okay. Click the link in my bio on Instagram.
Well, it's going to be in the description of this video.
In the description of
too.
this video.
Yeah,
There you go.
There you go.
Click the link in the description.
Yes, it will.
Get the free ebook. It gives you all the sauce on how to get started. I teach the broker method. So you don't need your own cars, no credit, none of that stuff, okay?
Gotcha.
Now, for those that maybe you have good credit, you're ready to take it up a notch, right? You want to go jump into the luxury cars. You want to get the exotic cars. I have a course. Link's going to be in the bio.
In the description.
In the description. You can get the course today.
Right.
And the course will give you all the sauce on how to get started in the car rental business. And now there's people also that want like a personalized one-on-one.
Okay.
I have a one-on-one mentorship where it's for 6 weeks. And I teach you everything from A to Z. So structuring your LLC to your operations, daily operations, your people, processes, and technology, risk mitigation, how to identify fraudsters, all the insurance plays. I'm teaching you how to buy your cars, marketing, all my marketing strategies, everything up until the point where you have to defleet your cars. I give you all the sauces for 6 weeks, one-on-one with me personally. Once again, link will be in the description.
There you go. Now, last question to close this thing out, and I want you to answer this very carefully.
Okay.
Right? I'm gonna ask you a question, and you fill in the blank so we can wrap this thing up. You should not get into the private car rental business if blank.
If you are emotionally attached to your vehicles.
Okay, talk a little bit about
That's
that.
number. I get that all the time. I get people that want to give me a car,
Mm-hmm.
but then like, oh man, they just can't let go of it, or somebody spills coffee in the car, and they're nah. You can't have feelings for these cars, yo. You have to look at this as a business. That car is just an asset that's producing income for you, nothing more, nothing less. Car gets scuffed up. I don't even yell at my renters. I'm like, I hope you guys are okay. You have to be empathetic, and it's all about the experience for the customer, not about the cars. The cars will get fixed.
Right.
You sell it, move on to another one.
Right.
No emotional attachment to these vehicles. That would be the number one thing I'll tell you. If you're getting it, you have to have thick skin.
Thick skin. There
Thick
you go.
skin.
And where can people find you?
Hey, you can find me on Instagram at Mike_the businessman. Holler at me.
There you go. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we just dang near did a private car rental masterclass for free.
Yes, sir.
And that's because we want to provide as much value and as information as we can to you, the audience member. And all we ask for return is not much. No, all you got to do is take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now to just go ahead and slap that like button if you haven't already and show this video some love. But as always, I'm Marvin Francois, Mike the businessman. Y'all have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. Thank you and God bless.
Appreciate you
Peace.
guys. Thank you.